Today's date is Friday, May 10th, 2019. The time is 6:15 p.m. I am presently on South Ocean Drive in Hollywood, Florida. I'm going to get some gang-stalking caught on film for you today. You're looking for synchronized space crowding and obstruction of movement. Let's go. As I've said in previous videos, you see an influx of gang stalking activity when there are police present. Notice how, as I was beginning my video, someone walked up behind me and tried to get past me. As my introduction to the video commenced, a second pedestrian walked up behind me with a dog trying to get past me. There's a bicyclist. There's a stalker right in front of us, obstructing the path of the sidewalk. And immediately in front of him, what do you see? A police SUV. Gang stalkers are told to carry out their missions with vigor and with all manner of aggressiveness when there are police present. Now, all of these cruisers that are in front of me here are vacated. There's no police in them. They are empty. But their dash cams are rolling, and those cars indicate that the police are in this building. Well, there they are right there. Which is a high-rise tower. Those are the officers getting into their cruisers. This high-rise tower here is where they were. So if gang stalkers were being instructed to stage my immediate vicinity with aggressiveness while there were police present, they were told to do it in the vicinity of that high rise there. You see, when there are police present, you see an influx of gang stalking activity. They are very bold in their gang stalking when there are police present. I've offered explanations in the past as to why that might be. And I've offered explanations in the past as to what a gang stalker has to gain from stalking a targeted individual with aggressiveness, with aggression, when there are police present. It's because gang stalking is more than just doing what this guy's doing and riding his bike all funky around me, and what this young lady's doing and circling me and all this stuff. All that synchronized obstruction of movement and synchronized harassment. Gang stalking is more than just that. It's more than just trying to annoy a targeted individual to no end. It's a slander, libel, character defamation, and character assassination program. It's not just about annoying a person. It's about annoying a person and getting him into negative situations that may or may not lead to police encounters, that may or may not lead to the targeted individual's arrest, incarceration, and conviction of a crime. Another thing that must be said about gang stalking is the kinds of harassment that a targeted individual finds himself dealing with can oftentimes lead to scuffles. And if the harassment leads to a scuffle, the way that the targeted individual is staged, the kind of people that are around a targeted individual at all times are the kinds of people that will go to the police and say defamatory things about that person so as to try and hurt their reputation. Another thing you'll notice about gang stalking is that anything bad, and we got some synchronized space crowding about to happen here again, it can only happen so many times where when you get to an intersection and there just happens to be a car making a right to cut you off or to obstruct your space, you can no longer call it a coincidence when it happens every day, multiple times a day. At that point, it's a derivation. And another thing you'll notice about the slander and defamation aspect of gang stalking is that anything negative that's said about a targeted individual is not said about their personal character or disposition. It's generally something that's said about their general character or disposition in relation to how they react to gang stalking. So basically what they do is they put these ignorant, foolish gang stalkers around you all the time. And eventually they do say, gesture, or physically provoke you into some sort of an argument or altercation. When the TI reacts to that argument or altercation in a manner that is defensive or forceful or retaliatory, at that point the gang stalkers, the ones that stage you, are now spreading a bad name for you, talking about how ill-tempered you are and how dangerous you are and how violent you are. A lot of them go even further than that and talk about your mental health. Some of them call you nuts or crazy or bonkers or dingy, and again, more synchronized space crowding. Those are not coincidences, ladies and gentlemen. It just happens to happen to me every single place I go, no matter what city, state, or zip code I'm in. Every time I get to an intersection where there's a sidewalk, there just happens to be a car coming to obstruct my movement. I don't believe it. It's not a coincidence. Coincidences don't happen like that. These are derivations. Now let me get back to the point I was making previously. It's easy to slander someone's name when they start reacting in a defensive, retaliatory manner against constant stalking. And when we get to the root of it, that's what gang stalking is. If you remember, in previous videos, I refer to it as a gang stalking campaign. Now, what is a campaign? A campaign is a continuous series of movements and enterprises that a group or individual takes in order to secure an outcome over a period of time. What are the movements and gestures that the gang stalkers are making around the TI supposed to result in over a period of time? What is the gang stalkers campaign designed to do? Well, let's look at what we know about campaigns. In a marketing campaign, let's say a Fortune 500 company decides to go on a marketing campaign for a new electronic product. What do? And again, I get to this little intersection here, this sidewalk, where there's an entrance, and there's just happens to be a car coming. It's not a coincidence, it's a derivation. Same thing here. You see this? As soon as I'm approaching, here it is. It's not a coincidence, it's a derivation. It's meant to obstruct my path. It's happening a little further off right now, but the last few times those cars were close enough to hit me. So, the slander and character defamation aspect of gang stalking is alive and well. The obstruction of movement is everywhere. These gang stalkers may or may not know that what they're doing is obstructive. That's not the point. The point is the people that are planting them in certain places knows what they're doing is obstructive. And the truth will come out. If this thing really is rooted in hate, that's going to come out. And right as I'm approaching, this Lyft vehicle is leaving at synchronization. That is not a coincidence. So if this gang stalking program really is rooted in hate and violence, then that truth will come out. I'm going to show you something. You see how they had that sidewalk staged? That's part of how you stage a targeted individual. You block off all sides. If I had gone around, I would have been obstructed by somebody. If I had gone to that woman's left, around that woman's left, I would have been obstructed by somebody. If I had gone around her right side, I would have been obstructed by somebody. It's called staging the target. Whether they go left or whether they go right, there's somebody there to obstruct them. It's synchronized and it is manipulated. AAA is another company that I see everywhere. I've mentioned in the past Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, Publix, Budweiser, Bud Light, UPS, FedEx, AAA, Area-wide protection services is another one that I see everywhere. The drivers on the road that work for these companies follow gang stalking patterns. I see that a lot too, where I'll come to an intersection and somebody will wave me over like, go. And as I cross the street, they obstruct my path with their vehicle. More public transportation. One coming and one going. One's going towards South Ocean Drive. The other one, see that one up there, is leaving South Ocean Drive. It's on the other side of that bridge there. I only got a piece of the action. That's called synchronization. See, gang stalking has to remain in sync. The gang stalkers in Hallandale have to be in sync with the gang stalkers in Hollywood, because Hallandale Beach and Hollywood Beach are right next to one another. Gang stalking is a sickening thing, and it's derived to annoy, harass, intimidate, disrupt, and obstruct the target. It's also meant to get the target into legal trouble. How does it do that? By constantly stalking, irritating, and annoying them in or around the presence of police. Now, how does that get a person into trouble? Well, if there's a dust up, the police will be called, and when they arrive on the scene, they'll be more in tune with what the gang stalker is saying than what the targeted individual is saying. Furthermore, if a person is harassed enough throughout their day, or annoyed enough, or irritated enough, which is exactly what gang stalking is, it's derived irritation, they will get in their car and they might drive irresponsibly. Now, how does that get somebody into trouble? Because when a targeted individual gets in their car, all they see is police. All they encounter are speed traps. All they come in contact with are sheriff's deputies. Okay, and as I said previously, when a person is placed in a gang stalking campaign, they are constantly being told on by law enforcement and semi-law enforcement elements. So if a targeted individual is driving up the street blowing off some steam from all the gang stalking that they encountered at school or work, there are gang stalkers that are following them in vehicles, in units. All of them with their hands on their phones, calling local police departments saying, hey, there's a person in this vehicle, and the vehicle will be the targeted individuals, and they're driving erratically. I think you guys need to come and check it out. So you see, gang stalkers have units. There are the street units. There are the vehicular units. There are even units that stalk you inside of retail operations like Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Target, the mall, restaurants. Okay, they have units, and each unit stalks you in a different way. Okay, you'll be stalked differently in a Walmart than you will in a Denny's. You'll be stalked differently in a Target than you will a Best Buy. You'll be stalked differently in a McDonald's than you will inside of your local mall. The gang stalkers have units in every single type of establishment that there is. And their goal is to annoy, harass you, provoke you, irritate you, get you into scuffles, arguments, and dust-ups, obstruct you, damage your family, destroy your career, hinder your education, make you irritable, and don't get a pet if you're a targeted individual, because that pet will not live very long. Whether you have a fish tank full of guppies or whether you have a $12,000 rare Sorvel cat. Again, I want to get this real close. You see that? As soon as I get to an open space where there is any kind of a sidewalk or turning opportunity, as soon as I get there, there just happens to be a car there to obstruct me. And it doesn't matter if they turn on their turning lights or if they don't. That is a rude, obstructive gang stalking move. And again, it happens as soon as I get to an intersection. It just happens too often, and it's too orchestrated. It's just too synchronized. As soon as I get there, there just happens to be a car. Gang stalking has operations in just about every establishment you can think of. Now, whether they go to the local police and say, hey, listen, we're about to set up a gang stalking operation here. The goal is to harass a person or just stage the area and make sure it's safe. Or whether they say we are a security firm commissioned by the U.S. government to carry out certain operations in the interest of national security. It doesn't matter what their rationale is or how they present themselves to anybody, be it local, state, or federal law enforcement or military agencies. The fact of the matter is that this program is rooted in the Jim Crow South and the neo-Nazis in the Reconstruction period. It's rooted in Nazi Germany and the kinds of practices that Adolf Hitler carried out, him and his military and the secret police against the Jews. It's rooted in communist Russia, namely the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution. And it's rooted in all manner of debauchery and murder. And the fact that they get the police involved really just is the icing on the cake. Because it's like they're saying, we're going to alley-oop you to the police. For people that don't know basketball terminology, an alley-oop is when one player who has the ball on offense throws the ball in the air towards the basket as another player is coming, so that the second player can jump in the air, catch the ball as it's going to the basket, and slam dunk it through the hoop for a 2-point score. What the gang stalkers are saying with the inclusion of the police in this thing is this: we are going to alley-oop you to the police so they can slam dunk you into jail and into a criminal record. We're going to stalk you and harass you in the street. We're going to stalk you and harass you in your home, using your neighbors and using mailmen and so forth. We're going to stalk and harass you at school. We're going to stalk and harass you on your job. And we're going to make sure that there's plenty of police around you at all times. So if you do anything that resembles lashing out, the police will be there. And here's a USPS truck. I've described at length the vehicles that a targeted individual comes in contact with. Now, mind you, anybody that walks down this street, and there's nobody behind me, but anybody that walks down this street right now or drives down the street sees that USPS truck too. It isn't just me that sees it. But here's where it becomes gang stalking. I'm in Hallandale Beach, Florida right now. If I were to hop in a bus and go as far north as Jupiter, Florida, which in a bus is about a 3-hour trip, a metro bus. Well, you'd actually have to take about 3 metro buses, but it's a 3.5-hour trip nonetheless. I would still encounter the same kinds of things there that I encounter here. So it's not just if, it's not as if, oh, it's just a busy mail day, or, oh, the USPS people just happen to be on the road at that time, or oh, you and everybody else saw it. It's not like that. I see the same types of activity in gang stalking no matter where I go. Whatever the blueprint for gang stalking is, whatever the template for gang stalking is, it tells me, stages me, surrounds me, and executes its program in front of me, and it imposes itself on me. Now, I've given reasons as to why